Well now, settle in close, dear ones, because I want to tell you about the winter I saved my granddaughter's marriage. Oh, she doesn't know that's what I was doing at the time. Thought I was just a helpless old woman who'd fallen and broken her wrist. But you know what they say about us grandmothers. We see more than we let on. It was December of 2019, and my Linda was in more trouble than she realized. There she was, sitting in her little Honda Accord outside some divorce lawyer's office in Millbrook, Ohio, hands shaking on that steering wheel. She had those papers, those awful divorce papers, sitting right there on the passenger seat like a loaded gun pointed at 30 years of marriage. Can you imagine? 30 beautiful years. 3 wonderful children, a whole life built together, and she was ready to throw it all away because they'd forgotten how to talk to each other. You see, that's what happens to couples sometimes. Life gets so busy, raising children, building careers, managing endless responsibilities, and somewhere in all that hustle and bustle, they lose sight of each other. They become like 2 people living in the same house but leading completely separate lives. Linda and Tom had fallen into that trap. Their youngest, sweet Emma, had just started college. Their middle boy, Jake, was in Germany with the army, and their oldest, Sarah, was in Portland with her own family. Suddenly, all those years of being the children's parents, instead of husband and wife, caught up with them. You know what happens when the nest empties, don't you? All those conversations about soccer schedules and parent-teacher conferences disappear, and you're left staring at each other across the breakfast table wondering who this stranger is. Tom was working later and later hours, claiming he needed to prepare for retirement, more like he was hiding from the uncomfortable silence. And Linda was staying after school every day, organizing things that didn't need organizing, grading papers that could wait. They were eating dinners in silence, watching television from opposite ends of the couch like polite strangers, going to bed at different times so they wouldn't have to face the awkwardness of lying next to someone who felt like a stranger. The final straw came 3 nights before I entered the picture. Emma called from her dorm, all excited about winter break, saying, "I can't wait to come home and see you and Dad being all lovey-dovey like you used to be." Poor Linda forced out a laugh, but the moment she hung up that phone, the weight of their pretending nearly crushed her. That's when she made that appointment with the divorce lawyer. Well, that's when the good Lord decided to step in, through my broken wrist, of all things. Now, I'm not saying I planned that fall, but I will say the timing was mighty convenient. My granddaughter Margaret called Linda that very morning while she was sitting outside that lawyer's office. "Mom fell again, broke her wrist. Doctor says she can't live alone anymore. Can she stay with you?" I could just picture Linda's face. Here she was planning to blow up her whole life, and suddenly she's got to take care of her old grandmother. The timing couldn't have been worse from her perspective. She was planning to tell Tom about those papers that very night, but sometimes the universe knows exactly what it's doing. When Margaret brought me over that snowy afternoon, I took one look at that house and knew I had my work cut out for me. Linda was putting on that cheerful facade, but I could see the sadness in her eyes, the weight of disappointment on her shoulders. After Margaret left, Linda helped me settle into Jake's old room. I'd only brought a small suitcase. At my age, you learn to hold loosely to things and tightly to people. "Now then," I said, settling into that chair by the window, "tell me what's really going on. And don't give me that 'everything's fine' nonsense." She tried to downplay it at first. "Tom and I are going through a rough patch." "How rough?" I pressed. That's when she finally admitted it. "Rough enough that I was at a lawyer's office today." I could have lectured her about marriage, but sometimes people don't need a sermon. They just need someone to listen. "And how did that make you feel?" I asked. "Terrible," she said, "like I was betraying everything I ever believed in. But also, relieved maybe? Like finally admitting it was falling apart was better than pretending." That's when I knew there was hope. If she'd been completely done, she wouldn't have felt terrible about those papers. "You know," I told her, "your grandfather and I went through a patch like that once, about 15 years into our marriage." Oh, you should have seen her face. She'd never heard this story before. But before I could tell her more, we heard that garage door opening. Tom was home. I watched Linda's whole body tense up, that familiar tightness that had become her response to her own husband's presence. "I should go start dinner," she said, jumping up. "Linda," I called after her, "don't give up just yet. Sometimes the best gardens grow in the worst soil, but only if someone tends them with love. Downstairs, I could hear them having one of those polite, careful conversations. But then Tom surprised me. When Linda told him I was staying, instead of looking annoyed, he actually looked relieved. "Good," he said. "The house has been too quiet lately." Now that was interesting. Very interesting indeed. "Tom Morrison, is that you down there?" I called. "Get yourself up here and give me a proper hello." That man's whole face lit up like Christmas morning. He took those stairs 2 at a time, with more energy than I'd heard from him in years. We had such a lovely visit, Tom and I. I asked him about his work, his golf game, that book he'd been reading. And he actually talked to me. Really talked, with enthusiasm and warmth, and all the animation that had been missing from his interactions with Linda. From downstairs, I knew Linda was listening. I made sure to draw Tom out, to show her the man he still was underneath all that careful politeness. The man who could still light up when he felt genuinely welcomed. You see, sometimes people don't change at all. They just get buried under years of hurt and misunderstanding. The real Tom was still in there, just like the real Linda was still in there. They just needed someone to help them remember. That evening, as Linda set the table for 3 instead of 2, I could feel something shifting. Change was coming to the Morrison house, and it started with an old woman with a broken wrist who understood that sometimes the best medicine for a broken marriage is a grandmother who refuses to give up on love. So there I was, settled into Jake's old room, ready to begin the most important mission of my golden years, saving a marriage that had forgotten how to save itself. And let me tell you, dear ones, I was just getting started. Now, I want to hear from you, dear ones. Have you ever felt like giving up on something precious? A relationship, a dream, a promise you made? What made you stay and fight? Or what do you wish someone had told you? Share your story in the comments below. Your wisdom might be exactly what another soul needs to hear today.